Let's get straight to it. So let's talk about the red heifer. Today's special reading, the Shabbat, in addition to the regular reading of the Torah, we're going to read about red heifer, which is called a an atonement. It's called an atonement because it atoned for the sin of the golden calf. Just give me one second. It's an atonement for the golden calf, which is this week's Torah portion, so it coincides. But the red heifer was called the mystery of the Torah. It's one of out of the 613 mitzvot, it's the most mystical, defies logic, it transcends human reasoning, it's most obviously divine and godly of all the mitzvot. King Solomon, the wisest of all men, said, I try to understand the entire Torah with his brilliance and wisdom that he was divinely blessed with, and he could understand everything except the mitzvah of red heifer. This stumped him. This he couldn't figure out. And the mitzvah of the red heifer was to take a cow that's totally red, doesn't even have two black hairs, and you would offer it as an offering, but this was done outside the temple, across the temple in the Mount of Olives. And they would then burn the ashes, and to reduce it to ashes, and then take living water, wellspring water, sweet wellspring water, and mix it together with a cedar, and they would mix together with the ashes and string and whatever, a little grass. They would burn it and they would mix it all together. And this ash, they would take this ash and use it to sprinkle. If someone came in contact with corpse impurity, if you came in contact with a corpse, which would make you impure. So by sprinkling this water, this ash, it would purify you. And that's so the third day and the seventh day, after you became impure, you would have to be sprinkled, and then that evening you were pure. You'll be allowed, you'll be pure. So this whole process was like a mystical, it says Moshe heard about the red heifer, he turned red. He said, how is it possible for someone who came in contact with death to become purified? He didn't think it was possible. How would it even be possible to be purified? Someone who came in contact with death. And Hashem told him the red heifer. And why is this so mystical? So people say because the one who would prepare the ash and the water, the one who prepared, anyone involved in the preparation would in turn become impure. And yet when you took this ash and water, mixed it with water, and you sprinkled it on the person who was impure, he became pure. So it was like a contradiction. So the Rabbi once told Rabbi Shlomo Riskin from Lincoln Square, the founder of Lincoln Square and Efrat, he said, that's what people say. That's the mystery. That's the part that makes no sense. How is it possible that the same thing that makes everyone involved with it impure, and yet it has the power to purify the ultimate impurity, someone who came in contact with a corpse? And he said, no, that's not a mystery, because that actually makes sense. When you sweep dust, when you sweep dirt, you become dirty. The broom becomes dirty. You're involved with dirt, you become dirty in the process. So it's no wonder, it's no great mystery and wonder. How is it that if you're engaged, involved with purifying, involved with someone that's impure, that you yourself would also become impure? That's such a big mystery. And it was a lighter impurity. Of course, you didn't need any red ashes. You would just go to the mikveh, and that evening you were pure again. Rabbi said the real mystery is that everyone involved in the preparation of the red heifer, the red ashes, becomes impure, with the exception of the one who actually does the sprinkling. The one who actually does the sprinkling remains pure. If the whole reason why you become impure is because you come in contact with impurity, the one who's doing the sprinkling is the closest to the one that's impure. He's the one who's actually directly in contact with him, and yet he remains pure. And that's the divine mystery and the divine wonder. But how is it possible that he should remain pure? And that's a miracle, like that since he's engaged in purifying his fellow Jew, so Hashem keeps him pure, protects him, it shields him. And that really gets to the heart of the matter, the mystery. It says, this is the mystery of the Torah. Because the person who's impure is not allowed inside the temple. So if a kohen wants to engage with this person and help purify him, the kohen has to leave the temple and go out to where this Jew is at. That's why and the kohen who's involved in the preparation also becomes impure in the process. So really, it makes no sense. A person can say, why should I sacrifice? The kohen lives in the temple. That's his home. That's where he lives at. He's at the highest level of connection with Hashem. Here, he's leaving the temple to help purify a Jew who's like dead, spiritually dead. Moshe's face became red. How is it possible for a Jew who's like dead, came in contact with a corpse? In other words, who's spiritually dead. There's no conscious visible connection to godliness. How is it possible to reconnect and purify this person? And the answer is that it's the actual self-sacrifice of the kohen. The fact that the kohen is ready to sacrifice himself and to go out to help this fellow Jew, that act of self-sacrifice is what triggers the awakening of the fellow Jew. In other words, when the other Jew sees that his spirituality and his Jewishness and his purity is so important, that the kohen, the highest Jew, the greatest Jew, the Jew who's most plugged in, who's most connected, who lives in the temple, his Jew is ready to sacrifice his own spirituality, sacrifice his own spiritual well-being. And in the process, he knows that he will get dirty, he will become impure. And he's doing it just for my sake. That awakens within the other Jew his Yiddishkeit. That Jew realizes how important it is for him to be Jewish, how important it is for him to feel that he's Jewish, to participate as a Jew, to connect as a Jew. So this is the essence of the whole Torah, because the whole Torah is founded on the concept of love your fellow Jew like yourself. That a Jew is ready to sacrifice. A Jew cares about his fellow Jew literally, like he loves himself, and you'll do anything for yourself. So a Jew is ready to do anything. The kohen is ready to do anything to help his fellow Jew. Now, this is a mystery of the Torah because on one hand, the Torah teaches us that this world is the holiest of all the worlds. Our world is the ultimate. This is where Hashem is found. This is where the temple is at. This is where Hashem marries us. This is where the redemption will happen. Our world is the holiest of all the worlds. Which begs the question, why is our world the dirtiest, the most contaminated, the most corrupt, the most decadent? So much so that all other religions, besides, apart from Judaism, look at this world and say that this world is hopelessly corrupt. Quit while you're behind. There's no point in doing mitzvot. Just have faith and you go to heaven. Tune in, tune out, resign, go to a mountaintop in Tibet and meditate and play dead for 9 hours a day. There's no point in this world is hopelessly compromised, corrupt, decadent. And yet, the Jew looks at the same world, at the same reality, and the Jew says, on the contrary, this world is the holiest of all the worlds. And the answer, this is the whole mystery of the Torah. This is the ultimate mystery. That, on the contrary, it's precisely because this world is so holy and has so much potential. So nature abhors a vacuum. If we don't realize this holiness and this potential, it will be filled, it will become impure. It becomes filled with impurity. That's the idea of death. Death is the ultimate impurity, the absence of Hashem. Because anything connected with Hashem is alive. There's death, it's a consequence of the absence of Hashem. And therefore, it becomes the ultimate source of impurity, the granddaddy, the grandfather of impurity. So it's on the contrary, precisely because this world is so much potential. It's like where do the bees go? Where are the bees attracted to? To the honey. Where do the bugs go when there's real food? They're attracted to the food. If it's real, organic food, real food, that's where all the worms go. On the contrary, the fact that this world is so wormy and so, it's really because this is the holiest of all the world. So in this, the whole portion of the red heifer, the idea that there's death and there could be such a disconnect, total disconnect. And Moshe turned red. How is it possible for someone who's so totally disconnected? How is it possible for them to become reconnected? And Moshe said, and Hashem showed him on the contrary. It's because this is the mystery of the whole Torah. The fact that there's such impurity is only because there's such purity and there's such holiness in this world, there's such beauty in this world, and that's why there's such heartache. And that's why there's such pain, because there's such joy and beauty which could only be found in this world. And last but not least, the point of the red heifer, the idea of burning the red heifer, reducing it to ashes. Alter Rebbe explains everything in this world is made up of the 4 basic elements: earth, fire, energy, liquid, water, and gas, wind. When you burn something, so the energy goes up with the fire. There's moistness in the smoke, so that's gas, and then there's moistness, that's the element of liquidity. What remains? The earth, the ashes. Earth is indestructible. The ashes remains. After you burn, what remains is the earth. That's the essence. So the idea of the red heifer, meaning the red heifer represents the animal soul, the ego soul, the natural soul, which is like a bull in a china shop. But the answer is, the Torah says the answer is to reduce it to its ashes, reduce it to its essence. Not to suppress it, to reduce it to its essence, because at the essence, at the core, the animal soul is not evil. It just wants to have fun. It wants to looking for thrill. It's looking for excitement. It's looking for experiences. It associates thrill and excitement experiences with material things, which are empty, self-destructive, with the shell instead of the fruit. But at the core and at the essence, the animal could be educated. You have to reduce the animal to its ashes, access the core and the essence, which is that desire, that passion and desire and thrill-seeking and fun-seeking self, and use it for holiness. Then it could be purified. You could just have to redirect it and re-educate it and use it for holiness. Anyway, there's a lot to say and a lot to speak and a lot to elaborate. But I apologize. I'm just going to have to. I'm going to have to cut it short. So there is an opinion that says you're obligated to hear this reading. Biblically, you're obligated to hear. So if you have a chance, go to shul, listen to the reading, the Red Heifer, the Shabbos, and just want to wish everyone a wonderful Shabbos.